The selection. The stars outside the window of the command ship burned cold and silent. Inside, dozens of alien warriors stood at attention. The air was tense. Today was important. Today, the Council would announce the partner assignments for the most dangerous mission in galactic history. Commander Jera stood tall in her dark armor. Her skin was silver blue, her eyes sharp and glowing. She had fought in more than 100 battles. No one questioned her strength. She was a legend. The room fell silent as High Commander Vosk entered. "You all have been chosen," he said, his voice deep and calm. "Each of you will be paired with a partner from another species. Together you will travel to the Lost Sector, recover the ancient artifact, survive, if you can." Jera frowned. "Why do we need partners from other species?" she whispered to the warrior next to her. "We don't need help. It is the Council's order," he replied. "They believe different minds may be the key." A screen lit up behind Vosk. Names began to appear. Pair 14, Commander Jera, species, Tirvani. Partner, Daniel Reese, species, human. Jera stared at the screen. Her mouth opened slightly, then she laughed. "Him? My partner?" she said out loud. "A human?" Some of the warriors chuckled. Others looked confused. "Humans are barely space-worthy," Jera said. "They are slow, weak, emotional." A quiet voice spoke behind her. "Maybe, but I'm good with puzzles." Jera turned. A human male stood there. He was not tall, not strong-looking. He wore a simple black suit. His eyes were calm, curious. His name was Daniel. She looked him up and down. "You're joking, right?" Daniel gave a small smile. "No joke. What can you possibly bring to this mission?" "A fresh perspective," he said. "And some very old knowledge." Jera rolled her eyes and turned away. She couldn't believe this. She had trained for this mission for years. She was supposed to lead, to fight, to win. And now she was stuck with a human. 2 hours later, their ship left the command station. The crew was quiet. Everyone could feel it. They were heading into danger. The Lost Sector was a dead zone. No signals came out, no ships returned. Inside the control room, Jera sat at the pilot seat. Daniel sat beside her, reading something on a small tablet. "Are you always this quiet?" she asked. "Only when people are judging me," he said. She smirked. "Then you must be quiet a lot." He didn't respond. Instead, he looked at the stars ahead. "What do you know about the artifact?" he asked. "Only legends," she replied. "A device built by the first race. They say it holds the power to control time or space, maybe both. And yet, no one has found it in 10,000 years. Until now," she said. They entered the Lost Sector. The moment they crossed the border, the lights flickered. The ship's system slowed. "What's happening?" she asked. Daniel leaned forward. "We're being scanned," he said. But not by anything mechanical. Suddenly, a strange energy wave hit the ship. Everything went dark. The engines shut down. The screen went black. Jera jumped up. "Shields. They're not responding," the pilot yelled. "Nothing's working. Manual systems," Jera shouted. The crew tried, but even manual controls failed. Daniel stayed calm. He pulled a wire from under the console, connected a small device from his bag, and typed something quickly. Within seconds, the lights flickered back on. The engine started again. Jera stared. "What did you just do?" "Old trick," Daniel said. "Sometimes simple machines work better than smart ones." The ship was steady again. The crew looked at him in surprise. "You may want to check the scanner now," he said. "I think we're not alone." Jera turned to the screen. A strange symbol was blinking. Unknown. Ancient. She looked at Daniel. "How did you know what to do?" He shrugged. "Humans had to survive with broken things for a long time. We learn." She didn't reply. But for the first time, she didn't look at him like a joke. As the ship moved deeper into the dark zone, the strange signal grew stronger. Daniel kept staring at the symbol. "What is it?" Jera asked. "A message," he said. "But not for you." "Then who?" He looked at her. His voice was calm. "For me." The first test. The lost sector was silent. No stars moved here. No planets spun. Just black emptiness stretching forever. And something hidden in the dark was watching. Inside the ship, everything was quiet, except for the low hum of systems still recovering from the energy wave. Commander Jera leaned against the control panel, staring at the strange symbol blinking on the screen, a circle with 5 sharp lines like a hand reaching out. It pulsed slowly like a heartbeat. Daniel stood beside her, focused. He had seen the symbol before. Not in a book, not on a screen. In a dream. Years ago. He never told anyone. Jera finally spoke. "You said the message was for you. Explain." Daniel didn't answer right away. His fingers traced the edge of the screen, careful, like touching something sacred. "It's a language," he said. "Older than any known race. Older than your empire. Maybe older than time itself." Jera frowned. "How do you know that?" Daniel hesitated. Then he said something she didn't expect. "My grandfather found this symbol deep underground on Earth, buried in stone under ice that hasn't melted in a million years. The government erased the mission. Classified. But he told me before he died." Jera stared. "You mean humans? Have seen this before?" Daniel nodded. "We forgot. But it remembers us." A sharp beep cut through the silence. The ship's AI spoke in a cold voice. Unknown force detected. External presence approaching. On the radar, something moved. Slowly, then faster. Not one thing. Many. Shapes appeared in the darkness. Not ships. Not creatures. Shadows. Like smoke made of metal and light. Shifting forms with no clear shape. The crew backed away from the screens. Jera stood tall. "Battle positions. Weapons powered up. Shields activated." But Daniel held up a hand. "Don't fire. Are you mad?" Jera barked. "They're surrounding us." "They're not attacking," he said. "They're testing." "Testing what?" "Us." Suddenly the lights went out again. This time, not even emergency. Power worked. The ship became a tomb. Cold. Dead. Then the walls began to move. Not physically, but visually. As if the metal around them melted, shifted. It wasn't the ship anymore. It was a different place. A long corridor appeared in front of them. Black stone. Glowing symbols along the floor. A voice echoed in Daniel's mind. Not in words. In meaning. "Walk alone." He turned to Jera. "It wants me to go in." "We don't even know what it is," she said. "Exactly, and I think that's the point." He stepped forward. The moment he passed the ship's door, the opening sealed behind him. He was alone. Inside the corridor, the air was thick, not with dust, with memory. Every step Daniel took felt heavier. The walls whispered, but not in sound, in feeling. They told stories of great wars, lost races, choices made, and undone. At the end of the corridor was a door. A voice, mechanical, ancient, spoke out loud now. First test, memory. A screen appeared in front of Daniel. It showed Earth, but not like it is now. Earth with giant towers, flying ships, blue-white cities floating in the clouds. And then, war, explosions, fire, creatures not human, Earth falling. Then, silence. "You have forgotten your own past," the voice said. "You must remember to move forward." A puzzle formed on the screen. Symbols, numbers, images. Daniel stared. His mind raced. This wasn't just a test of memory. It was a message, a code, the truth of what humans once were. He solved it in seconds. The door opened. Back on the ship, The crew waited in silence. Jera paced. She hated waiting. She hated not being in control. She hated that she was worried. "Come on, human," she muttered. "Don't die yet." Inside the next chamber, Daniel stood in front of 3 platforms. On each, a copy of him appeared. One scared, one angry, one calm. The voice returned. Second test. Identity. Which one are you? This time, the test was emotional. If he chose wrong, he would be trapped here. Forever. He stepped forward, looked at each version. Then, he chose. The calm one disappeared. "I'm not always calm," he said, "but I try to be." The other 2 nodded and vanished. The final door opened. He stepped into the last room. There was nothing here, just a small floating object. The artifact. It was smaller than he imagined. A black cube, pulsing with light. He reached out. As his hand touched it, a wave of images hit him. Plans, maps, languages, the inside of the universe, and one final message. "You are not the first, but you may be the last." He collapsed. Back on the ship, the corridor reappeared. The walls returned to normal. The lights flickered back on. Jera rushed forward as the door slid open. Daniel walked out, weak, shaking, but alive. The artifact floated beside him, gently humming. The crew stared. No one spoke. Jera stepped forward. "You did it?" He looked at her, tired but calm. "No," he said. "We just started." The artifact's guardian. The artifact hovered silently in the center of the control room. It made no sound, yet the entire ship seemed to vibrate with its presence. A low hum echoed inside every wall, like a heartbeat made of time. Commander Jera had seen many weapons, many machines, but nothing like this. "How are you holding it?" she asked Daniel. He looked pale. His hands shook slightly, but his eyes were steady. "I'm not holding it," he said. "It's following me." The crew backed away. One of the officers whispered, "What is that thing?" Daniel stared at the cube. "A memory," he said. "And maybe a door." They docked on a small, rocky planet at the edge of the dead zone. Coordinates had appeared inside Daniel's mind when he touched the artifact. A hidden vault was buried there. The next step in their mission. Jera scanned the surface. No signs of life. No structures. "Are you sure this is the place?" Daniel nodded. "It's not what's outside. It's what's underneath." They suited up and stepped onto the surface. The wind was dry, the air thin. The sky was dark orange and no sun could be seen. Jera led the way, weapons ready. Daniel followed, holding the artifact like a compass. It floated near his shoulder, spinning, slowly. After an hour of walking, they reached a cliff. Below, hidden in the shadows, was a giant stone door. It looked like it had been untouched for 1,000,000 years. "This wasn't made by any species I know," Jera said. "It wasn't made for any species you know," Daniel replied. The artifact glowed. The stone door shook. Then it opened, slowly, like it was waking up from a long dream. Inside was darkness, not the kind caused by a lack of light, the kind that feels alive. As they stepped in, the door closed behind them. The air grew heavier. The walls were covered in markings, not words, not symbols, emotions carved in stone, pain, war, hope, loss. At the center of the chamber stood a throne, and on that throne, a body. It wasn't alive, but it wasn't fully dead either. A tall figure made of black armor and wires, its face covered by a cracked mask. Glowing blue veins ran through its skin. Daniel stopped. "It's a guardian." Jera raised her weapon. "Is it hostile?" "I don't know yet," he whispered. Then the figure moved, just one hand, lifting slowly. A voice filled the chamber. Not from the figure's mouth, but from the very walls around them. "You are not worthy," Jera fired without thinking. The energy bolt hit the figure and disappeared. It didn't flinch. The voice grew louder. You seek what was buried. You carry what was lost. But you do not understand what it will cost. We're not enemies, Daniel said. Then prove it, the voice replied. One must stay, one must enter. A new door appeared on the far wall. Cold mist spilled from the cracks. Daniel looked at Zara. It wants me to go in alone again. Zara grabbed his arm. You almost died last time. And we can't move forward without this. He walked toward the door. Zara turned to the Guardian. What happens if he fails? The Guardian's head moved slowly. The mask cracked wider. He becomes the next Guardian. Inside, the air was colder. This room was smaller, darker. It felt wrong, like the walls were pressing in. Daniel saw mirrors everywhere, dozens of them. Each one showed a version of himself, younger, older, scared, angry, broken. Then they changed. Now they showed people he had lost. His mother, his brother, his grandfather, all speaking without sound. A new voice echoed, not ancient but personal, his own. You're not special. Just lucky. Wrong place, wrong time. The mirrors shattered. Daniel fell to his knees. Then he remembered something his grandfather once told him. If you ever meet something older than truth, don't try to win. Try to listen. He closed his eyes. I'm not perfect, Daniel whispered. I'm not chosen, but I'm here, and I'm listening. Silence. Then a soft light appeared on the far wall. A small sphere floated toward him, a new artifact. This one was different, lighter, brighter. He touched it. Outside, Zara watched the Guardian. It stood now, fully awake. Weapons rose from the walls. A countdown appeared. 30 seconds. She aimed her rifle. I swear, if he dies. The door exploded open. Daniel walked out, holding the second artifact. The Guardian lowered its weapons. You listened, you remembered, you may pass. Then it sat back down and went silent forever. Back on the ship, Daniel placed both artifacts together. They linked instantly, forming a star-shaped map. Shira stared. What is it showing? Daniel smiled, not with pride, but with understanding. Not just where to go, but who's been here before. The truth about humans. The map glowed in the air. Two artifacts now joined as one. The floating shape shimmered, turning slowly like a star pulled from a dream. But it wasn't just a map, it was a record. It showed ancient paths through the galaxy, forgotten roads that led to dead planets, broken moons, and stars that had gone dark millions of years ago. Daniel and Zara stood in silence, staring at it. The ship's crew whispered behind them. They had never seen anything like it. These are ruins, Zara said. Every location marked here is a grave. Daniel nodded. A graveyard of the first war. Which war? The first one, he said. Before your empire, before your species, before almost anything. Inside the command room, Daniel accessed the map using a neural link. The artifact let him feel the memories. Not like watching a movie, but like living someone else's life. He saw cities in the clouds, towering structures made of crystal and light. He saw humans, not like now, taller, stronger, with eyes like silver stars. They ruled the stars once, not with war, but with wisdom. Then he saw what came next, a warning ignored, an enemy unknown, and a fall so complete, it erased humanity from memory. He opened his eyes slowly, sweat on his forehead, breathing heavy. Zara stood over him. What did you see? Daniel leaned back. Our history. The truth no one told us. He walked to the screen and spoke to the crew. Humans didn't begin on Earth, we ended there. Gasps filled the room. What do you mean? Zara asked. We were the first explorers, the first architects. We built the gates between galaxies. We guided younger species, then something hunted us, something ancient, powerful, patient. He looked at the map again. So we ran. Those who survived became small, weaker. We hid ourselves in a planet at the edge of everything. And we forgot. You're saying humans chose to forget? Jera asked. To survive, yes. The ship reached the next location on the map, a frozen planet with a massive crater. Nothing had grown here for billions of years, but beneath the ice, a structure remained. Buried. Waiting. Daniel and Jera led the expedition below the surface. As they entered the ruins, the walls lit up. The structure responded to Daniel. Why just you? Jera asked. Why not others? Other humans? Daniel paused. Maybe I'm not the first to find this, just the first to wake it up. They reached the core of the structure. A massive chamber held hundreds of metal cylinders. Like ancient cryopods. Jera touched one. They're empty. No, Daniel said, scanning the systems. They're used. Used by who? By us. By the humans who came before. The main console activated. A hologram appeared. A woman. Human. Tall, regal, glowing with light. Her voice echoed through the chamber. If you are seeing this, then one of our own has returned. We left this memory for you, child of Earth. She looked directly at Daniel. You are not the last, but you may be the first to rise again. The stars have forgotten us, remind them. The hologram faded. Jera stood still, her eyes cold with thought. This changes everything. Yes, Daniel whispered. But not everyone will accept it, she said. The Council. They will see you as a threat now. Hours later, back on the ship, a message arrived, encrypted, from the Tirvani command fleet. Jera opened it, alone first. Then she showed it to Daniel. It read, You are ordered to return. The artifact will be taken. The human is to be isolated and studied. If you resist, you will be treated as compromised. She stared at the screen, her face unreadable. They think I've gone soft, she said. Daniel waited. Have you? She looked at him. You were just a partner to me, a task. Now, I'm not sure. You don't have to decide now, Daniel said. No, she replied, but I have to decide soon. Outside, the artifact pulsed faster. The galaxy was waking up. In his private quarters, Daniel watched the stars. His reflection looked older now. He felt something stirring inside him. Not power, but memory. Like a part of him was returning. Ancient instincts. Lost knowledge. It wasn't just that humans had history. They had unfinished business. He whispered to himself. They buried us to forget us. But we were seeds. Behind him, the artifact glowed brighter, and somewhere deep in the galaxy, something else felt it, and it began to move. The betrayal. The ship flew silent and alone between stars older than memory. The artifact sat locked inside a containment chamber, but no machine could truly contain it. It pulsed like a second heart within the ship. And it was changing. Not just systems, not just signals. People Commander Jera stood alone in the observation deck. Her hands rested behind her back, but her mind raced. Behind her sharp eyes, a storm was forming. She watched Daniel through the glass wall of the lab below. He sat calmly, studying the star map again, tracing the ancient routes with his fingers like a man remembering a place he'd only seen in dreams. He wasn't just a partner now. He was a problem. Hours earlier, she had spoken privately with her superiors. The Council's voice had been cold, flat, final. The human has activated tech no other species can. This makes him valuable and dangerous. Bring him in, alive. The artifact must be returned. And if he resists, remove him. They didn't ask how she felt. They didn't care. She was a soldier. Her orders were clear, but something inside her had shifted. Later, in the ship's war room, she stared at the security feed. Daniel was in the artifact chamber again. Lights swirled around him, Symbols moved across the floor, not random. They responded to him like he was meant to be there. One of her officers stepped beside her. "You still trust him?" Shara didn't answer. "If you don't act soon," the officer said, "the artifact might choose him completely. Then we can't take it by force." She turned to him. "Is that what this is now? Force?" The officer didn't flinch. "We're not the only ones watching." That night, Jara found Daniel standing alone on the viewing deck. The stars shimmered through the glass. No noise, no guards. Just them. He spoke first. "They've contacted you, haven't they?" She looked at him. "Yes, and they want you contained. They want the artifact back. They want me to follow orders." He turned to her. "Will you?" Her voice was quieter now. "You're not what I expected. Not what anyone expected. And that scares them." "It scares me too," she admitted. He nodded slowly, then said something strange. "They'll try to take me tonight," she blinked. "How do you know?" He looked her in the eyes. "Because I would, if I were them." Just before midnight, the alarms went off. Security breach and artifact chamber. Jara ran through the corridor. Her troops were already inside, weapons drawn surrounding Daniel. He stood in the center of the room, calm. The artifact floated behind him, glowing so bright it painted the walls gold. "Stand down," Jara ordered. Her officer spoke. "We can't take the risk. He's no longer under control." "He was never under our control," she snapped. "He's activating systems we don't understand," another shouted. "What if he turns against us?" Daniel didn't move. "You think I want power?" he said. "I've seen what power did to us before. I'm trying to stop it from happening again." The soldiers didn't lower their weapons. Shara stepped forward. "You trust me?" Daniel asked her. She hesitated, then raised her weapon, aimed it directly at his chest. Silence filled the room. Daniel didn't blink. "So this is it?" he whispered. Then Jara turned and fired at her own officer. The energy blast hit him hard. He flew back into the wall. "Everyone stand down," she shouted. The crew froze. "He's not the enemy," she said, "but if you keep pushing him, he will become one." In the aftermath, she locked down the ship. Only a few trusted crew remained in command. Daniel sat across from her in the war room. He was quiet for a long time, then asked, "Why?" She didn't look at him. "Because I believe you." "Believe what?" "That you're not here to conquer. You're here to remember." But far away, in deep space, a message had already been sent, a signal. The Tirvani Empire had lost patience, and something else had heard the artifact's awakening too. Not a government, not a fleet. Something older. Something buried. Something that remembered humanity not as heroes, but as enemies. In the final moments of the chapter, deep in an abandoned system, a dead satellite flickered to life. A single glowing eye turned toward the stars. A voice, digital and cracked, whispered in a language that hadn't been spoken in eons. Origin signal confirmed, human echo detected, prepare to engage. Somewhere in the black, the real enemy had just woken up. Rise of the human, the ship floated in silence. No messages, no movement. Just tension hanging in the air like smoke. Commander Jara stood alone in the strategy chamber, her face lit by the soft glow of the artifact map. She had gone against orders, fired on her own crew, protected a human over her own people. There was no going back now, and outside this fragile ship, death was coming. Not warships, something worse. In the engine bay, Daniel knelt before the artifact. His fingers hovered over the glowing star map, tracing routes once walked by a forgotten race. His race, but something was different now. The artifact wasn't just showing places, it was speaking to him. Not in words, not in sound, in instinct, in memory. He remembered things he had never learned. Codes, systems, weapon controls, starfield patterns buried in his blood, and a message echoed inside. Him, You are not a survivor. You are a return. Suddenly, alarms blared across the ship. The AI voice crackled. Incoming warp signature unregistered. Technology class unknown. Threat level immeasurable. Jera rushed to the bridge. Outside, a ship dropped from warp. But it wasn't a ship. It was a shape. Black as shadow, smooth as silence. No engines, no markings, no lights. It simply appeared, and reality bent around it. Inside, Daniel stepped away from the artifact, now pulsing faster, warning him. He walked to the window, and when he saw the object, he remembered it. He had seen it in the dream memories. The one who hunted the first humans, the one who broke the stars, the one that didn't kill to win. It killed to erase. He whispered to himself. They didn't just run from it. They buried the truth so we'd never call it again. Jera joined him. What is that? He turned to her. The first extinction. A voice echoed through the ship, not over speakers, not in air. It entered minds. Return the core. Return the memory. Return the blood. Jera's crew screamed, holding their heads. Some dropped unconscious, but Daniel stood still. The voice didn't hurt him. It recognized him. How do we fight it? Jera asked. Daniel looked at the artifact. We don't. Then what do we do? He took a slow breath. We become what we were. They rushed to the artifact chamber. Daniel placed both artifacts into the central cradle. The ship shook, not from damage, from awakening. The entire hull lit up with ancient human symbols, walls folded open, revealing systems long hidden, weapons powered by thought. Shields built from pure energy. Your ship? It's changing, Jera said. He looked at her. It always had the tech. It just needed me to wake it up. Outside, the dark entity moved closer. It didn't fire weapons. It simply extended tendrils of black light, aiming to erase the ship, to delete every molecule. But the ship's new form held. Daniel stood at the center of the control room. The artifact floated around him like a living compass. He reached out. The ship responded, not with controls, but with connection. What are you doing? Jera asked. I'm speaking its language, Daniel replied. He didn't attack. He sent memory. Through light, signal, and echo, he forced the entity to see. The old wars, the peace before the fall, the death it caused, the seeds humanity left behind. Himself. The entity paused, and for the first time in countless millennia, it hesitated. Because Daniel was not just human, he was original, a carrier of the first code, a reset key. But hesitation wasn't enough. The entity struck again, this time faster, deeper. It began tearing through the outer systems. The ship trembled, crew screamed, Daniel bled from the nose. His body pushed beyond normal limits. The artifact dimmed, then pulsed red. Emergency energy flooded the bridge. Jera looked at him. You can't hold it forever. I don't have to, he said. He opened a final path on the star map. Jump gate, long dead, now lit again. We escape? She asked. He looked at her. No. You escape. She froze. You're not coming? Daniel shook his head. If I run, it'll follow. But if I stay, maybe I finish what my kind started. She stepped forward. I didn't betray my people just to lose you now. You won't lose me, Daniel said. You'll carry the truth. She hesitated. Then, without words, she gave him a nod. The escape pod launched. Daniel turned back to the artifact. The ship folded inward. Light exploded outward. Silence. Hours later, on a distant planet, Jera landed. She stepped out holding a new data core, Daniel's final message. And behind her, the stars began to shift. Because Daniel hadn't died, he had become the signal. The galaxy would hear his name again, and this time, they would listen. A new alliance. This part closes the arc with emotion, power, and purpose. The legend of humanity is reborn. Sacrifices matter, choices echo, and the galaxy shifts forever. The world of Orana 5 had never seen war. It was neutral ground, a council, world of thinkers and diplomats. Peaceful, bright, and deeply protected. The perfect place to hide a secret too dangerous to fall into the wrong hands. But now, that secret was walking through its gates. Commander Jera, once the pride of the Tirvani Empire, stepped onto the council floor. Alone, her armor scratched, her eyes cold. In her hand, a glowing core wrapped in ancient human tech. Daniel's final transmission. The room was filled with leaders of over 30 species, all silent, waiting, judging, fearing. She stood tall. "I bring the memory of a species you chose to forget," she said, and a warning from the one who remembered it. They didn't believe her at first until she activated the core, and Daniel's voice returned. Not as a ghost, as a signal, alive, stable, aware. "You buried our name," the voice echoed, "but you didn't erase it. We were first. We were fallen. And now, we are risen." Gasps, whispers. A few stood up in panic. Others stared in awe. A voice from the Koran delegation shouted, "This is impossible! Humans are primitive savages." Jera didn't blink. "He saved my ship. He saved your future. And he became something no one expected." She turned slowly. "You laughed at him. But he did the impossible." Far above, orbiting Orana 5, a new object appeared in space. It wasn't a ship. It was Daniel, or what remained of him. His consciousness, fused with the ancient human core and the awakening tech, had become something more, something that could no longer be measured in flesh. He could see across star systems now, hear signals meant for no one, breathe through satellites and speak through dust, and he had a message to all species, to every empire. "We are not returning to rule. We are returning to remember, and to remind you, humanity is not weak. We just forgot who we were." Across the galaxy, something strange began to happen. Ancient ruins that had been silent for millions of years, human-built ruins, began to power up. Machines older than recorded history lit up. Hidden AI awakened. Star maps corrected themselves, revealing new paths. Old colonies lost archives. It was like a network rebooting itself from the past. The council called it the stirring, and with it came a choice. Humanity, reborn through Daniel, offered not war, not power, but partnership, a new alliance. Not of species, but of memory. A return to what the galaxy once was, built together, not conquered. Some races accepted, others feared it. The Tirvani Council fractured. Half supported Jera. Half called her a traitor. She didn't care. She had made her choice long ago. On a cold night, alone on a cliffside of Orana 5, she stood and watched the stars. One of them shimmered, the signal core. "Daniel. You were a partner," she whispered. "But more than that, you were the first to believe we could be better." His voice came softly through the air. "I'm still here." She smiled, not with joy, but with peace. "What now?" she asked. A pause. Then his answer. "Now we build, but not empires. Understanding." Epilogue. Centuries later, a new academy stood at the heart of Orana 5, named not after a species, but after a promise. The Human Legacy Institute. Inside, children from 100 worlds learned the same lesson. You do not measure a being by how loud they are, but by what they do when no one believes in them. A statue stood at the gates, of a quiet man in simple black armor holding a glowing cube. Crescio. Words below, she laughed. He listened. And then he changed everything.